let's get to the Discord game of the week. It's the Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. It's at 1 o'clock. What a matchup here. Ravens favored by 3 against the Lions. It's another big test for the Lions. I know it's an AFC matchup, but they already beat the Chiefs. But it's one of those tests for a team that we think is now a Super Bowl contender.
Sure.
In Detroit, 5-1 Detroit Lions against 4-2 Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, Baltimore is a pretty good, benchmark type of team for anybody that thinks they're for real in a given season. You got to go out there and try and beat a team like Baltimore. And if you can't, it does raise questions about whether you are really that kind of team. The Ravens are good, like top to bottom. They're always pretty well coached. They're fairly fundamentally sound on both sides of the ball. So I think it is a pretty significant test for Detroit. Losing David Montgomery is going to be, I mean, obviously they've dealt with him without him before, but that's a blow. Like he's the one guy they have that operates between the tackles well, maximizes small amounts of space inside and turns those like 3-yard holes into 8-yard gains and that kind of thing. So I think they lose something by not having Montgomery in the lineup. None of the guys that they have that they're going to give those carries to are really able to do that. On the other hand, if they do what they did before and just kind of give Jahmyr Gibbs those types of plays, he has the explosive ability to, maybe 3 of them are stuffed, but the next one gets broken for 50 yards in a way Montgomery generally doesn't have the ability to, even if I think last week he broke off a big run.
That might be my concern for Detroit. It's because the Ravens are number 2 in the NFL, EPA per play allowed against the run. That's also actually false. Wow. I'll tell you what. Fun fact. They were number 2 in the NFL, EPA per play allowed between 06 and 09.
Uh-huh.
Because somehow I had the wrong filter on.
06 to 09, huh?
Yeah. I was looking up some historic stuff yesterday, doing some stuff, and I clicked on the wrong tab here. I'll look up the exact number. But the game flow last week, would you be surprised if the game flow is similar to last week where the Lions had very little going on the ground and it became a Jared Goff game? And again, I was complimenting the Lions on Monday morning, saying that's impressive, right? They couldn't do what they wanted to do, which was run, create explosive plays. They didn't have that balance on offense whatsoever. It became Jared Goff dropped back 45 times, and he picked Tampa Bay apart for the most part. Good decision after good decision, did a really nice job. Goff is the highest rated quarterback in the NFL right now. But that doesn't always mean, hey, just chuck it 45 times. That is a difficult thing to do week in, week out. And if the Lions can't get the run game going, that's a lot of pressure on Goff against a good Ravens defense here. So that'd be my concern, is if they get too much. I can't believe I'm saying that. If you get too far away from the run game in Detroit, you want to find that balance, not run-pass ratio, but essentially how much you're putting on Jared Goff's plate. I thought it worked great last week. I don't think the Lions want him dropping back 45, 50 times every single week, though.
No, probably not. I think it's fair that you definitely don't get the idea that Jared Goff is one of those quarterbacks that you want to be asking to do that every single week. On the other hand, this is a different version of Jared Goff than we've seen any other point in his career. Like literally every single number basically is a new career benchmark for him. And what honestly is most impressive about it, or most notable, I think, is not the high-end stuff. I think we've seen a lot of that before in his Rams career. But even the real difference between Jared Goff this year and Jared Goff any other year is mistakes and the lack of them. He has 3 turnover-worthy plays so far this year, right? He had 24 last year. And even in his good years with the Rams, he had a massive amount more than that, right? Like his career baseline for turnover-worthy play percentage is 3.4%, which includes this year where it's at 1.3. And 1.3 is like, it will lead the league every single year if he manages to maintain that. But it isn't just the turnover-worthy plays, even the basic mistakes, right? Just the miss, right? I missed a throw. Here's a little downgrade, minus 0.5. You should have hit that, blah, blah, blah. He hardly has any of those. He's way down. His completion percentage is up. His adjusted completion percentage is up. His accuracy is up, and he's not making mistakes. Now, if he's able to maintain that for an entire year, genuinely, he's MVP. Straight up, that's the most valuable quarterback in the NFL right now. Having said that, all of those numbers feel a little bit unsustainable, and that might mean they come down to earth gradually over the season, or it might mean he screams into a wall at some point and throws like a few really bad mistakes or just has a bad completion percentage day, et cetera, et cetera. And Baltimore is the kind of team where that can happen against. But, they have some matchup advantages, I think, over that Baltimore defense.
Updated stat here. The Ravens are 5th in EPA per play allowed against the run. So it was close. This year, 2023. So, yeah, those are great numbers on Goff. And I'm with you. I think when you're analyzing and a player is like that, those are all above Jared Goff's baselines, right? So, like as you said, on one hand, it's impressive. Kudos. Good job. On the other hand, you might, that's going to regress a little bit potentially, and you just have to, keep an eye on that. But I love the way Goff is playing. And as we said coming into the season, the Lions have put so many good playmakers out there on the field. Amon-Ra St. Brown owning the middle. Josh Reynolds has been fantastic this year. The connection between him and Goff, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, that great catch the other day. It was a great catch, Sam. It was a great catch. The big playability of Jameson Williams and Khalif Raymond. So love what they have in Detroit. On the other side, Lamar Jackson's also playing extremely well. And he's had, I think he's been a little streaky. I think there's been bouts of he's just not missing throws, and other times where he's a little bit more erratic. I think we saw that even last week in the London game. He started out really hot and then slowed down a little bit in the second half. But Lamar, it's really for the third straight year. Here's what I'm keeping an eye on for Lamar Jackson. Third straight year, we're sitting here in week 6, 7, 8, 9, and it's like it's not the 2019 MVP caliber season for Lamar Jackson, but he's really good. He's playing. He's doing his thing on the ground. He's throwing the ball pretty well, but he hit these bouts each of the last 2 years where he started chucking it to the defense. And he had multiple turnover-worthy plays in a bunch of games right around mid-season. And then he got hurt, and it was like he never came out of it. Like he hit a slump, and he never came out of it. I want to see Lamar if he can maintain that consistency. I think it's going to be an awesome back-and-forth game, Lions-Ravens here.
I think Lamar's been playing pretty great this year. He is having a little bit of that Trevor Lawrence thing where for a few weeks he was playing out of his mind and his receivers just weren't helping him out for different reasons. I think Lamar is going through some of that himself. And then it's like he's really good in the game. He's getting let down by everybody. And then he makes one mistake that sort of makes you feel like he's part of it as well. Whereas realistically, like Lamar should have been, the game should have been well won and gone and in the distance. And then like Lamar makes one bad play and like, see, everything's bad. The Ravens can't get out of their own way. And it's like, no, like
it has been ill-timed.
He hadn't been part of the problem right up until that play.
Some overtime misses against the Colts, the late interception against the Steelers. Yeah, he got strip sacked. I don't think that was on him at all.
Right.
But yeah, it does seem like the negative plays are coming at the wrong time for the Ravens.
I think
interception kind of let the Titans back into the game last week.
I think he's basically making like one bad mistake a game, and somehow they're timed to be the worst possible moment, and it makes it look like he's playing the same sort of malaise as everybody else in that offense. But actually, I think he's been pretty spectacular. Like him, his performance thus far, resulting in 5 passing touchdowns and 3 interceptions, is ridiculous. Like that's not. Those don't connect.
I don't look. I honestly, I was saying this to you before the show, I don't even look at traditional stats a lot of the time now. Sometimes I do, but I used to start there, right? I look at the grades and the actual performance and the actual plays. I had no idea that his stats weren't good. I had no idea that Stafford's stats weren't good. I'm watching Stafford every week like, man, dude's balling. He's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL this year, and I think his stats are terrible. I had no idea.
They're not great. Yeah.
I just assumed that they were good because I watch him every single week, and I think Stafford's playing well, and I didn't know the stats weren't there.
Like Lamar Jackson has almost the same touchdown to interception ratio as Kenny Pickett this year. Like that's not right. that should not be the case.
Doesn't feel right. One last thing, Ravens linebackers playing extremely well. Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen. I think that's also going to be a big factor in the Lions' run game, but also we know the Lions and Ben Johnson, they're as good as it gets at scheming it up, puts those linebackers in a bind. Ravens might be able to handle that better than most teams. Kyle Hamilton as a hybrid player. Ravens have the types of players to combat a well-schemed passing attack against the Ravens have the ability to combat a really good scheme for the Lions. So, all right, Ravens by 3. Where are you going on this? I don't know, man.
Detroit is one last element. Detroit's run defense has been really good this year. And obviously the Baltimore Ravens rushing attack presents a slightly different challenge than most teams because of Lamar Jackson. So, they didn't remember they did an insane job against Bijan Robinson and the Falcons right after they had just looked amazing. Now it's like,
have they run into a team with a mobile quarterback yet? Not really. That's using him in the run game. So Mahomes and the Chiefs, no. Seahawks, no. Falcons, not really.
Right.
With Ritter. Packers, no. Panthers, no. Bucks, no.
Right.
So this is the first time they've run into a QB-centric designed run game.
Right. That changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, this Lions run defense has been amazing, but Baltimore presents different challenges. Can they still hold up?
Over-under's 42.5. That's an intriguing under call there. Good offenses, but I think the defenses match up pretty well. So where are you going to go with this game?
Baltimore by 3. I'm going to buy into Detroit. I'm buying the hype.
Yeah. There's a lot that I like about Baltimore matching up against Detroit, who's now a powerhouse, but Detroit's also played much better on the road than they had in recent years. So